you today? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is like week number 5 now of quarantine. This is crazy, honestly. I've got my blanket. I genuinely have literally got my blanket. I just was like, I'm just gonna sit here and talk to you guys. Get yourself a cup of tea, get yourself a, I don't know, hot chocolate or a drink or an ice lolly if it's nice outside, and let's talk about how I overcame severe obsessive compulsive disorder. Okay guys, so I'm going to start from the beginning, obviously not too much to the beginning because I do have another video up on my channel which was my first video, which was actually about having childhood OCD. So if you want to kind of get up to speed with my life and my childhood area of OCD, then that's fine. I'll pop a link in the description for my childhood OCD video. However, today we're going to be talking about how I recovered from my severe OCD / Pure O relapse. Now, quick overview, I suffered with OCD undiagnosed between the ages of 12 to around the ages of 16. Now, I definitely had it before then, but I'm talking about like hardcore pure OCD memories was from the ages 12 and up. So I would say from 12 to 16, I had severe pure OCD. It did go undiagnosed, however, it didn't go unmanaged. Now, when I say it didn't go unmanaged, basically, I knew that there was something not quite right. My mum knew there was something not quite right. I definitely was going about my recovery the wrong way during that time, and understandably so, because it was around 2007 up to 2012. So in that time, even now, there's not that much out there on OCD and pure OCD. However, it's definitely more acknowledgeable and accessible to get help than it was back then. So me and my mum dealt with it together. She was so helpful. Like, obviously, when I was younger, we kind of just tried to ignore it. We used to call it the heebie-jeebies. And I used to say, like, I'm having those thoughts again. So yeah, that was me when I was younger. However, then, great time, blessing in disguise, maybe a curse. From being 16 onwards to being 21 years old, I would say I was free of OCD. Now, I don't want to say I was free of OCD. I want to say that I was free of intrusive thoughts and obviously the negative connotations that came with intrusive thoughts. However, looking back, there was definitely some aspects there. My main theme, and obviously one of my biggest struggles, was POCD, and also HOCD, and also morality OCD. Now, I really struggled with, obviously, the idea of being an immoral person, character indictment, that my thoughts were totally against who I thought I was as a person, who I believed I would be as a person, and how I wanted to be as a person. So, yeah, I really did struggle with that kind of stuff. Now, when I was 21, I genuinely saw, like, my OCD, well, my thoughts, because again, at this time, I did not know it was obsessive compulsive disorder. I was still using OCD as a term of the person who likes, things neat and tidy. I was still using that connotation. Little did I know I was actually living with OCD. So, basically, I relapsed, and I relapsed big time, and I can tell you the exact moment that I relapsed, and I'm sure a lot of you guys will always remember the exact moment that you had your first intrusive thought or your first relapse. And I was in Spain. It was the night of the Eurovision, and it was 2018, night of the Eurovision in May, and I'll try and find the exact date somewhere and I'll pop it here. And sorry, kind of find it really hard to talk about. It's just, that's a weird thing to say considering that I'm on camera right now, but it's not often that I go back and visit, those kind of memories. But we was in Spain. We had a few drinks, and when I say a few drinks, we genuinely had like 2 or 3 drinks. We'd had a bit of a stressful day because of some hotel issues, and we went and got in bed. It was around 11 o'clock at night. We got in bed, and Ewan fell asleep straight away. I stayed awake because I wanted to watch the rest of the Eurovision and the results. So I stayed awake and I was laying in bed and I was minding my own business. Like, there was nothing out of the ordinary with the day, with the night, or anything like that. And Eurovision finished, so I switched the TV off. It was completely silent, completely dark. I remember like the atmosphere. I could literally place myself there right now, you know, like. And I remember being laying in bed. It was dark, and I just lay down and I shut my eyes. And you know when you get that feeling like, I don't think I'm gonna sleep tonight. That was that kind of feeling that I got. So I was laying in bed and I shut my eyes and I was like, I don't feel that tired. I don't feel like I'm gonna sleep tonight. So, you know, I just started thinking random things because I was like, I'm not putting the TV back on. Like, I'll fall asleep in no time. I, you know, was going through these thoughts, and one of the thoughts that popped into my head was, do you remember those weird thoughts you used to have as a kid? And that was it. That was the one thought I had that probably I was never, after that one thought, ever the same person again. Because the minute I thought, you know, that simple sentence in my head, in the pitch black of the hotel room in Spain, remember those thoughts you used to have as a kid? You know, those really weird thoughts that you used to have as a kid. Do you remember those? And obviously the right concoction of the bloody universe, my head, my serotonin, my mind, the area I was in, everything all like was a perfect combination to give me that massive that surge of anxiety just came up through my body, and yeah, it kind of like a bolt of lightning. And I was laying in bed, I shot straight up like bolt of lightning, and I was like, oh my god, I do remember those thoughts. What were they? And I got this really big surge of panic, and I was like, oh, it's okay, like, it's just, you know, you're just a bit stressed, it's fine. Like, you know, every now and then in my past, obviously I'd always thought back to my childhood. I'd always thought about these intrusive thoughts that I used to have, so it was nothing new for me to like think them. But for some reason, this one time, it hit deep, you know, like it hit that anxiety nerve, it hit the fight or flight, and that's exactly what I went into. And it was an anxiety that I'd not felt for many years. It is an anxiety I'd not felt for, you know, nearly 5 years at this point. And I was like, right, okay, what can I do? And obviously, naturally, again, undiagnosed, the words OCD didn't even pop into my head. I had no idea, no correlation. I'd never even researched it. There was absolutely nothing. And this like bolt of lightning came out, and I was like, I need to research. And obviously, there we go, day number 1 of relapse. Compulsion was research. I was like, right, okay, I'm gonna research. Just to, like calm me down, I'll be okay. So I typed it in Google. This was the first time, obviously, as someone who had access to the internet, that I'd actually done this, you know. I'd actually put what I was thinking into the search engine. And I remember actually writing in intrusive thoughts, because at this point, that was all I knew that they were. So I typed in intrusive thoughts, and an article came up from Psychology Today. I read the article, I felt the relief, and I went to sleep. And that was day 1 of relapse. When I say relapse, yes, it was a relapse. It was a relapse. I had this previously for up to 4 years, you know, but this was the first time I'd had it as a grown woman, you know. In the past, I was, 12 to 16. I was a child, I was a young teenager. I was going through school. I was going through stress of like school things, like friendship issues, work, education issues. A lot of things were going on, hormones, and I could kind of try and obviously push it to that. Obviously, I hadn't dealt with it as a mental illness at the time. We just thought it was hormones. I just thought it was hormones. I didn't really know what to think it was. All I knew at that time is that I wanted it to go away. So yeah, this was the relapse, but the first relapse I'd ever had as a grown woman. I fell asleep that night, that first night, and I woke up the next morning feeling slightly anxious and a little bit confused as to why I'd reacted that way internally to those thoughts. But I tried to push past it. I told Ewan that like I'd just struggled a little bit and the night before, and I remembered from my past when I'd had them, what we used to do is distractions. We'd really try to distract me from my intrusive thoughts. So we'd go on bike rides, we'd go away, we'd go to Blackpool, we'd go and do all these fun things, watch a movie, kind of distraction techniques, which was, back then we didn't realise. We just thought we were trying to like take my mind off things, but realistically the distraction techniques were the best kind of thing for it. So I knew straight away when I woke up the next day that I needed a distraction technique to kind of stop me from taking this any further. Now, I had ruminated a little bit at this point over the thoughts, and I decided that I wasn't going to let it do it. I was just going to kind of carry on and not let it ruin my holiday, because I wanted to enjoy my holiday. So day 2 of relapse, and I decided that we're going to go for this bike ride. I think, let's take my mind off it, we're going to go on a bike ride. So we go on a bike ride and something's just not quite budging like it would do usually. It's there, it's niggling, and it's not going like it usually would with any other, anxiety spell. So I really struggle. I ride it out on the holiday. I'm not going to spend too long on the holiday because I could literally be here all day. I ride it out, and here's a snippet of how quick fire OCD can be and how your brain can change so quickly. I was actually in the airport, and I was sat in the airport. At this point, I've not said anything to anyone about the fact that I was having intrusive thoughts, not even my mum, even though she knew about them in the past. I was literally just dealing with this on my own. I think it was about 3-4 days since I'd had my initial, moment, and I was in the airport, and I was in the midst of like an anxiety attack with this intrusive thoughts that I was having, and I couldn't cope, and I was really struggling, and I couldn't breathe, and I'd never, you'll remember that I've been with Ewan now I've been with him 6 years. At this point we'd been together 4, and we were engaged, and I'd never been suffering with intrusive thoughts when I was with him. So there was not really any need for me to disclose that to him when we first got together. Like, obviously I had anxiety issues and things like that, so obviously he knew about those, but there was never any part of me that felt the need to tell him about the intrusive thoughts I'd had as a child. My friends, nobody, like they were embarrassing. Everybody who suffers with OCD is embarrassed by it, so there was not really any need, considering in my head that it was gone and it was never going to happen again. There was no need for me to disclose that information to him. So at this point, I've been with this guy 4 years. I'm sat in an airport having an absolute meltdown over intrusive thoughts, like irrational intrusive thoughts, false memories, all sorts, and I can't say anything apart from the fact that I'm struggling with anxiety. And I'm sat there and I'm literally like having this meltdown, and I think I can't, I'm going to have to ring my mum, I need the reassurance, I need something, I can't breathe. So I go into the toilet, I ring my mum, it rings, and I'm stood in the toilet, it's ringing, and she didn't answer because she was asleep. So she didn't answer, so I put her phone down. I'm like, right, okay, I'll have to compose myself. Like, she's not answering. I'm going to have to ride this flight out. I'll be home before I know it. She rings me back 15 minutes after that panic attack. 15 minutes after, she rings me back, and I go, hey, yeah, I was just letting you know that I'm at the airport. Like, because I didn't feel that urge anymore. Now, that's how quick fire it can be. Like, 1 minute I was like having this irrational breakdown. The next minute I was like, okay, it's fine. I don't need to tell anyone. It's fine. Logic. As soon as that phone went down, I was like, why didn't I say something? And it was back. And it was back and forward every single second. catch me 1 second, and I'll be like, you know what, this is illogical, this is all intrusive thoughts, we'll be okay. And the next second I'd be like, no, I'm a murderer, I'm this, I'm that. And I knew that there was something not quite right there and then with this. I'm kind of not sure where to go with this video, because I was originally going to go down the line of like how I overcame it. However, I do think my story is just that little bit too long to be condensed into one video. So I'm probably going to make this 2 parts, because I think that really, if I'm going to sit here and be open and honest with you guys and realistically give you advice, then I need to be transparent with you. So I got home, I struggled the whole flight. I got home, I got inside the house, I had a shower, I went to unpack my stuff, and I just sat in my bedroom, burst into tears. And I was like, Ewan, look, I think I need to go and see my mum. And he was like, okay, like, that's fine, like, you've been on holiday, like, I totally understand. And I was like, no, like, there's something not right, like, there's something not right with me, and I need to go to see my mum. And he was like, what, like, are you okay? So I rung her, and she answered, and I genuinely I just said to her on the phone, I literally just said to her on the phone, Mum, I don't know what to do. I'm having those thoughts like I did when I was a kid. And she was like, okay, it's fine, don't worry. Come round, we'll have a chat, blah, blah. So I go to her house, I give her a present, we have a chat. I feel so much better. I think, you know what, like, yeah, you're right, like, she knows me, like, she understands. It's probably just because I'm stressed with the whole flight and being in different countries, you know. I thought I may have had a urine infection, so I was like, okay, you know, there's a lot of different things, like, I'm totally fine. And, you know, I went to bed, fine, and I woke up the next day, and it was back, with a vengeance this time. You know, obviously, my OCD at this point didn't like the fact that I had tried to knock it in the bud, and it wasn't convinced, and I wasn't convinced that it was quashed. So a few weeks went by of me toying with this idea that it was coming back, that it wasn't coming back, that it was coming back, that it wasn't coming back, and there was all these different things going on in my mind. I could already feel myself distancing from my family and my nephews, my nieces. I could feel myself distancing away from them. And I was sat there one day. I'd googled about this intrusive thought, about, you know, intrusive thoughts coming in at inappropriate times, and I felt so much relief because I found this online, like, community of all these people that were dealing with obsessive compulsive disorder. And I was like, what have I witnessed right now? Like, is this really a community? Like, is this really something that people deal with? Like, what? And at this point I was still really scared about researching it, because obviously I didn't want things to come up that would, you know, confirm my fears or anything like that. And I was going through, you know, highs, lows, because 1 minute I was like on top of the world thinking like, oh my god, I've figured it out, like, I know what this is, I've got this, I can work this. And then the next minute I was down here like, no, like, that's not right, this is not normal, like, you can't behave like this. And I sat in the bath one day, I went and sat in the bath, and I was like, do you know what? I can't do this anymore. I thought, how can I continue? Like, I cannot see a way forward. from this. You know, I thought I could not see a way out. I'd not told Ewan at this point. I lived with him. I loved him. We'd been together for 4 years, and I was having these absolutely abhorrent thoughts that, you know, I just... And I just thought to myself, what can I do? Like, how do I get past this point? Like, so I got out of the bath, and I know this happened. I don't remember it happening, but it's very blurred. Like, there's no emotion attached to this. And I got out of the bath. I put my hair in a towel. I just shoved some clothes on, like some joggers and a top and a jacket, and I like dried the roots of my hair, but I left the ends wet, and I was like, that'll do. Like, I walked into the living room. I said to Ewan, I'm going out. I'm going to my mum's cafe. My mum owns a cafe. And he was like, what do you mean? I was like, I'm going to my mum's cafe. And he was like, right, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. I just need to go to my mum's cafe. I need to chat. And he was like, okay, like, no worries. Ring me if you need me. And I left the house with nothing, just my joggers, my top, my fucking phone. I drove 45 minutes to my mum's cafe, which I shouldn't have done. My head was not, my head was not there. I drove all that way. And I got to my mum's cafe. And I just kind of walked in. And I just stood in the middle of the cafe market. It's on a market, It's on a market. And I stood right in the middle, and she looked at me, and God knows what must have gone through her head, because why on earth her daughter was stood in the middle of her, marketplace cafe on a Saturday afternoon when she was meant to be at work with wet hair, no makeup on, with no acknowledgement or no phone call that she was going to turn up. And she looked at me and she said, what are you doing? And I just burst into tears, and I walked straight into the cafe. She sat me down. She turned all the customers away. She said, I'm so sorry, everyone's going to have to go. I've got a family emergency. And I sat there, and she just looked at me, and she said, her words to me were, do you feel like if you carry on thinking this way, that you might not want to be around anymore? And I nodded. Because it was true, Because I just didn't know, how we would move on. Now, we got in the car. She rung the doctors, and she said, I need an emergency appointment for my daughter. There is, we need an emergency appointment. And they give me one, and sorry, I'm struggling with this story because it's just weird. It's weird how detailed I remember it, but also how numb I feel towards it. And I said to her, I said, what am I going to do? I can't do this. I feel like I said to her, I feel like there's loads of pathways in my brain, there's loads of roads in my brain. I said, and I feel like every single one of them just tangles up and leads to this same route. I felt like all of the wires were messed up in my brain, and I didn't quite know where to go with it. And I got in a car. I'd obviously left my house. I'd left my stuff, left everything. I just drove to my mum's cafe, with no intention. I don't know what my intentions were, and I never went home. And that was, I never went back to my apartment for a couple of weeks. So I rung Ewan on the way to the doctors, and I told him, I said, look, I'm really sorry, like, but I'm gonna stay at my mum's tonight. I feel like I need to be at my mum's. And he was like, no, I totally understand. Like, do you want me to come and see you? I'll come round, I'll come see you. I was like, yeah, you can come see me. And I stayed at my mum's for a week. I'm not going to go into too much detail about my experience with the NHS and things at the minute, because I'm going to save that for another video. Because I had a lot of hospital appointments and interviews and psychiatric interviews and things like that, which I'm going to save for another video. So I stayed at my mum's for a week. We did a lot of different things. We, did puzzles and crosswords and watched TV, and we had fun. And, well, we had fun. I had fun. My brain wasn't necessarily quite there yet. And at this point, it had been 3 weeks since that day when I was in bed watching the Eurovision. So I'm going to put a picture up here right now of me in the daytime, just before my relapse. And this is 3 weeks later that I'm talking about now. Sleep on my mum's sofa. That picture will always, like, bring back some feelings. But it's not just a sad picture, like, it's a happy picture, because you can see that I have like a blanket and a dummy on me, and that was from my nephew. And I'd fall asleep and he'd give me his blanket and his dummy because he knew I was sad. Ooh. And if you've got OCD and you're watching this and you think that I'm being like, oh my god, super negative and stuff, like, I'm not. And that's not what I want you to take away from this, because I promise you that there's a lot more to come. Like, you have to hit rock bottom before you can get anywhere else. You have to hit the bottom, because I know it's cliche as fuck, but the only direction you can go in from rock bottom is up. And that was rock bottom. And the next part of this video will be the way up. Because I promise you, it gets better from here. There's a bumpy road ahead. There's 2 years of bumpy roads ahead. I've literally just told you 3 weeks, and that took me 40 minutes. So I'm gonna have to try and figure out a way to condense my life story down. But look, I'm gonna end this video here. I don't want it to end on a negative. I really don't, but I need to condense this into good little snippets that you can see the progression in. So right now you've had an overview of my relapse, my story, what happened to me, my emotions, the way I felt. And going forward in the next videos, I'm going to talk about the next steps that I took in terms of recovery, the steps that I decided I was going to take with the help of friends, family, and these with the help of a lot of self-help knowledge. I'm going to go into each and every one of these books, and we're going to talk about how I used them, how I used my knowledge, how I used knowledge as my weapon against OCD. I have a lot of books about other people's stories. I have books, workbooks, I have all different things. And going forward from now, we're going to talk about each step over the next, maybe 5 videos or so. I'm going to be uploading them every week. And over the next, 5 weeks, we're going to talk about how I got to this position that I'm in now. And the position I'm in now is happy, still on medication, still having intrusive thoughts, still having OCD. I will always have OCD. That is who I am. That's me. That's my brain. I've learned to live with it, and I've learned to manage it, and I've learned to cope, and I've learned to not let it spoil life for me. Now, going forward, these videos will be on the positive side, because the way I was just talking, the story I was just telling you, that was the 3 weeks of me at rock bottom. And if I'm going to talk about how you're going to get better, you need to know where I was at rock bottom, because there's no use me telling you how to get better if you don't even know where I was when I was getting better. So thank you so much for watching. I hope it wasn't too doom and gloom, but like I said, I just want to be transparent, and let's just be honest. Honest is the best policy. Right, I'm gonna go because this donut's staring at me in the face. I swear, every single video, the only reason I end it is because I want to finish off some kind of sweet dessert. I love you. I loved. I will see you all in part 2 of this video. Please subscribe, give it a like, give it a thumbs up, because it would really, really help, you know, my channel, and obviously getting this out there and getting this to a wider audience. It would be really beneficial for the OCD community as well. So thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in part 2, and thank you. Love you a lot.